Happy Thursday. How we doing, everybody? Welcome to the monthly live. Now, I will tell you this. There is a thunderstorm raging outside. There's lightning and thunder outside right now. So if at any time it goes dark, you know what happened. I am okay, I assume, unless the lightning and thunder actually, hit me. But do not be alarmed if suddenly I go offline. Anyway, hey, welcome everybody. Today is Thursday. It's our monthly Q&A for the Patreon Club. I want to thank everybody that's in the Patreon Club for all of your support. Because of your support, I can do a lot that I could never even try to do without you guys. So you make it possible for me to do what I love, and I love you for it. Today, we're going to be covering a few questions from the Patreon Club. First, I always want to say thank you to Magic Mind, who sponsors the channel. Magic Mind is a all-natural blend of nootropics, and you can find more about Magic Mind if you check out pretty much any of the videos that I do. I always have a link to them in the description box. But today, we've got some questions. Devlavi, I hope. Well, let's see. He says, if I miss it, have a good time. Well, we will try to have a good time. I don't know if you're here, my friend. If you're here, let me know. Please like, subscribe, all those other things. Right now, I'm pulling up the questions for today's session. I do want to say, if you've been following along with the new banner on the channel, the Breath Source app is coming. And I know that is, I'm kind of giving you a little bit of an advanced notice. The real, pre-announcement and the announcement stuff, it's all going to be coming next week. But hey, you're on my monthly live, and I just want to give you that little thing here. This is not the only live I'll do this month. Of course, I think I did one last. Did I do one last week on Friday? Normally I do them on Friday, but this week we're doing it on Thursday because this is our Q&A. Let's see here. So let's see. I remember the question. I just want to read it so I get the wording correct. So bear with me just a second. If you guys, hey, say hello. I'd love to know where you're coming from. All right, here it comes. So Charlie, he says, can I use breath to warm up my extremities when walking my dog on cold Chicago winter's days? So first of all, Chicago, hey, Midwest, much love to you, my fellow Midwesterner. It's a strange world that we live in now because today it's storming out. It's like in the 60s. That's in like the high teens Celsius for my Celsius friends. It's not cold. It got up to 70 degrees yesterday, and that's, I think, right around 20 degrees Celsius. So we are dealing with some weird weather as usual. The Midwest doesn't have normal weather. I think that's a thing where it's like there's a lot of places you go, like you could go to Los Angeles, you have a pretty good idea of what the weather's going to be like. You go to Florida, it's going to rain at least once a day. In the Midwest, it's everywhere. Let me know where you guys are from. Let me know what kind of weather you are putting up with right now. I'd love to hear more about you guys. Let's see. Today, we're answering this question. So he's got extremity issues. So he says he needs something to warm up his extremities. He's asking, is there kind of breathing? He says, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to put this question into context of sympathetic and parasympathetic. So I want to unpack that real quick for everybody that's here. First of all, that means we've got a person here who, Charlie, you understand some of the basics of our nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is generally broken up into two parts. There are actually three parts of the autonomic nervous system. One is the enteric nervous system, but we typically think of our autonomic nervous system as sympathetic, parasympathetic. Now, what does that mean? So when we're in the sympathetic dominant state, that means we are in more of, sometimes we call it fight or flight, but I don't want you to think about it like that. I want you to think about activation. I'm getting my physiology is geared up. How my physiology expresses itself is geared up toward action. There's also the parasympathetic side, and that's where my entire physiology is geared up for recovery, repair, rejuvenation. And typically these are both active. It's just that one of them is going to be a little bit more active than the other one. And so Charlie's asking, hey, is there a way that I can warm up my hands? He says he already understands, okay, there's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic activation. He knows that he says here, breathing faster increases blood flow, but it also constricts blood vessels. Okay, Charlie, you know your stuff. You're absolutely right. And it seems like it might not help. Breathing, or he said deeper breathing relaxes blood vessels. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think what you're meaning is actually deep breathing. Oftentimes when we talk about deep breathing, there's a lot of misconceptions as far as what do you mean about that. But I'll get to that here in a second, Charlie. He says deeper breathing relaxes blood vessels, but maybe the blood doesn't circle through the body. Jogging helps, but there isn't always somewhere to jog. And so I'm walking. So he's walking in the streets of Chicago. It's wintertime. I mean, it's February. Generally, this is the coldest month in the year in the Midwest, as far as my life living here. We typically, like, if you're up for a awesome Wim Hof weekend, actually we've got let's see, it's next weekend. Check out my website. You reach out to me. You can find me through Instagram. You can reach out to me via the website. If you're on my mailing list, you've got the mailer about the retreat we're doing in Wisconsin. This is the retreat. If you've seen the video of me in the ice, taking these blocks of ice that are just like, they're literally 100 pounds of just pure ice, having to shove those out. That's February. That is what I think of when I think of February. I think of being in a frozen over lake with this thick of ice, and I'm having to shove it out of there. That's what I think of. And you talk about vasoconstriction on your hands. All right. So getting back to it, he says, jogging helps, but there isn't always somewhere to jog. And so I'm walking. He says, I'm checking to see whether I can keep extremities warm through breath while walking. Okay. So thank you for that question, Charlie. And thank you for being in the Patreon club at that level. Hey, Brad, nice to see you here. Huntington Beach, California. Awesome. Now, is Huntington Beach, like, California is a really tall state. Are you in the northern half or the southern half? I'd love to know. Peter, nice to have you here, my friend. Hey, hope you're having a good Thursday as well. All right. Yes. Glad to have you here. All right. But back to Charlie's question. So breathing influences everything. Okay, so everything from our hormones, everything from vasoconstriction, vasodilation, all these things. He says, is there a way to create, hey, Skull, hey, with a little kombucha? You know what? I'm just drinking water today. But I will cheers to you, my friend, Skull. So, Charlie, when it comes to your cold extremities in the cold, here is what I have to tell you. First and foremost, you're fighting a battle where it's this interesting battle between, there is a lot that you can do with your breathing, but when the cold is present, you've got natural vasoconstriction. Because what happens is when your physiology becomes cold, when you experience the cold, your natural instincts, the natural way your nervous system is going to respond is to become sympathetic dominant. Okay. And what it's trying to do is trying to preserve core body temperature. And so what you'll see happen, and you'll notice this on heart rate. There's people out there that they will brag about how their heart rate goes down. They can make their heart rate go down in the cold. And this is a strange thing where honestly, it's not that hard. And you're going to notice your heart rate, if you get into really hot water, your heart rate's going to go up. So I would be more impressed if I saw a person in like a sauna or a steam room and they made their heart rate go down in that. In the cold, you're going to notice a change in blood pressure. Your blood pressure is actually going to rise because all of these extremities are vasoconstricting and they're pushing all of that blood to your core because they want to preserve core body temperature. That's the primary job. Heart rate's going to go down because it doesn't have as much blood to push around. It closed off a lot of the places where it would normally push that blood. So when you see a person showing off that they can reduce their heart rate in the cold, it is interesting because one thing they're fighting that sympathetic dominance. So the adrenaline, oh my God. But as long as you can stay somewhat calm, as long as you keep your breathing in a calm way, that heart rate is naturally going to come down. Now, having said that, when you're having the cold extremities, especially when you're walking on, in the cold Chicago streets, you're fighting the issue where no matter what you do, no matter what you do, you're going to have vasoconstriction. And that is because the cold is a force that is going to be bombarding you. Now, I will tell you this, that cold the cold hands and cold feet can typically be mitigated by changing our breathing patterns. So here's my best advice to you. You'll want to do slow, low breathing. You want to inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. You're going to want to lengthen your exhales. You want to stay as relaxed as you can. And going back, Charlie, to your question, you are on the right track when you think about the sympathetic versus parasympathetic dominance of your autonomic nervous system. When you are parasympathetic, you will have a little bit more vasoconstriction. Now, one of the things you can do, now this is so interesting, if you can have the calmness of mind to do this, I would recommend doing CO2 tolerance training. Now, Charlie, I know that you're in the Patreon club, and I will just tell you that this month I released a CO2 tolerance trainer. So it's a guided session of me guiding you through a very basic CO2 tolerance training. Now, that particular training, if you practice that once or twice a day, you're going to notice a significant boost in your CO2 tolerance. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The more CO2 that you can tolerate, the slower you're going to feel the urge to breathe, which means you're going to breathe slower. That's awesome. Which, the slower you breathe, the more naturally slow you're going to breathe. That means you're staying in the parasympathetic state anyway. You're more relaxed. That's awesome. The other thing is that higher amounts of CO2 also generally open up blood vessels. Generally, you're going to see vasodilation, even if you're experiencing the cold. And if you can, it's going to make for an interesting walk. Okay. And I would still say, you wear gloves, put your hands in your pockets, do everything you can to keep them cool, to keep them warm, because just being against cold surfaces or being out in the cold, it's going to cause, you're fighting, I would say you're fighting mixed messages. So what you'll want to do is you want to try to challenge your CO2 tolerance during those walks. Now, this is going to do a lot of things for you, Charlie. First of all, if you can challenge your CO2 tolerance while walking, you are creating a connection. This is language of breath style stuff here. You're creating a connection. By the way, my upcoming book in October, which so far in this one broadcast, I'm announcing two things that are actually before I was supposed to announce them. But hey, just so you know, also, if you go to Language of Breath Collective, .com, you can find the online course where I teach a lot about this stuff in the actual online course. But even if you just stick with the Patreon session, I've got a 10-minute session guide, and it's a little bit longer than 10 minutes because it guides you in. But if you can challenge that CO2, if you can tolerate a little more CO2 while you are walking, you're going to get the cardiovascular benefits. You're going to get the CO2 tolerance benefits. You're going to get athletic training benefits. And that is your best bet for warming your fingers and toes in the cold. Now, having said that, it is no guarantee that you're going to have warm hands and feet. Okay. It is no guarantee. And I will tell you this, the reason for that is what we'll be doing if you're challenging your CO2 tolerance. If you have the solidarity, if you have that discipline to do it, you will be sending a signal using the language of breath. You're sending the signal to your unconscious self. Okay, open up those blood vessels. That's fantastic. And actually, this is why sometimes when people overtrain CO2, especially early on, they can have headaches because they're actually opening up those blood vessels. There's actually more blood flow in their brains at some points than typical, and they can cause headaches. So you want to be careful with this. 10 minutes a day for a while. If you've never practiced CO2 tolerance training, you can, after your first week or so, you can go 20 minutes a day if you want in 2 10-minute sessions, I would recommend. But as you're walking, okay, as you're walking out your door, start to notice your breath and start to come into that CO2 tolerance challenge zone. And again, I've got this month, I released a CO2 tolerance trainer track. It's like 15 minutes because I take you in and I take you out of the 10 minutes training. If you just do that, that's your best bet. Again, it's no guarantee you're going to have hot hands or warm hands, warm feet, just because you're working against nature. So you're sending a signal, but there's also another signal that's coming in. So when I train police, firefighters, EMTs, etc., and this is a major part of what I do these days, and that's all thanks to the Patreon Club. You've made it so that I don't. So one of these things is whenever I'm working with these organizations, most of the money that I make, actually so far more money than I have made. So I've I've had to spend more money than what I've made working with these organizations in order to build the infrastructure so that I can actually work with these organizations. So the Patreon Club, you have made this happen. You're helping lots of people, and I want to thank you. Just take a moment to thank you. So thank you very much. But having said that, when I train these individuals for autonomic nervous system regulation, these people are going into, the worst possible situations that can be gone into, right? That's what they do on a regular basis. Even the 911 operators. And this is the crazy thing. I've never trained 911 operators before, and these people have it rough too. And this is one of these weird things where we don't think about those poor people. And I think the times we think about them is whenever we hear the 911 recording or something like that, and we're like, "Oh, that 911 operator was really cool under pressure or whatever." But you got to understand, these people, they go to work, they clock in or whatever they do, and then they answer the phone, and on the other end of the phone is a person who's having the worst day of their life, and they do that all day, and then they go home. And the thing is, can you imagine? I think about this. Put yourself in those people's shoes. They're answering the phone. There's a person on the other line, on the other end of that line, that is possibly, being, running away from an assailant, or not assailant, but running away from somebody who's trying to kill them, or whatever, and they can't do anything. Like our organism, the human organism, is built for action, and that is what all of this is built for, to take action. And so everything within you is giving you the chemicals, all the nervous system, everything is giving you the things that you need to take physical action. And all you can do is say, okay, can you see this person? Okay, can you get to this area? It's got to be crazy. But anyway, when I train these people in autonomic nervous system regulation protocols, and Charlie, Charlie's question was a great launching point for this, I guess, conversation. It's similar, Charlie, to your situation where you're dealing with the cold and you're looking for a way to send signals to your physiology. Hey, open up those blood vessels. I want to make sure the vasoconstriction is not causing me problems, because there's conflicting messages. The cold says constrict. Your breathing says open up. It's the same with the autonomic nervous system. So if you walk into, or if you're experiencing a really stressful situation, that is sending a signal to your nervous system. You're saying, okay, I'm dealing with the stressor. I'm dealing with this danger. I'm dealing with whatever it is. The breath can mitigate some of that, because then now you know that you can send a signal back. But the thing is, your unconscious is making calculations on calculations on calculations, seemingly instantaneously. And so you're working the whole goal is to work in conjunction with yourself. And so it's quite difficult. But I will say, Charlie, thank you so much for that question. That question is a really good one, because I think we all, especially in the past, 5 years, with the rise of cold training, with the rise of Wim Hof method, with the rise of all of the stuff that has come out with, especially cold and breath. There's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of beliefs that, this technique or that technique is going to make you warm in the cold, or this or that. And while we do have the capacity, and like I said, actually CO2 tolerance training is what I would recommend. even though we do have the capacity to make adjustments in our physiological expression just solely based off of how we're breathing, we're still there's still no magic trick. There's still no because I am, there's nothing like that. Charlie, you're here. Appreciate the in-depth answer. Hey, I appreciate you. And I appreciate you being in the Patreon club. So ask any question you ever want. That's the cool thing. So Charlie is, I think it's silver or gold level or above. They have the access to ask me anything. So you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about cold. It doesn't have to be about breathing. It can be about just about anything. I mean, unless it's something I have no idea about, right? So I didn't watch the sports ball game this past weekend. I'm sorry, I don't follow football. So I know that might come as a surprise, but I follow weird sports. I don't actually follow any sports right now. For the longest time, I would follow professional bodybuilding. So here's a crazy story. There's a bodybuilder by the name of Derek Lunsford. Is anybody into bodybuilding? I'll just shut up about it if you're not. But there is a professional bodybuilder named Derek Lunsford. And whenever I was a professor, he was one of my students. And so it's kind of interesting. So I'm following him and I'm rooting for him and I'm hoping that he does well. But yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not the healthiest lifestyle, but I'm also very proud of him. So Charlie says, I'm not an athlete. I have rested pulse of 43 to 46. That's bragging rights, Charlie. That's bragging rights. Congratulations. Which during sleep has dipped to 38 and has been recorded at 34. Wow, Charlie. Question. Okay, so Charlie's asking another question. He is part of the Patreon club, and I appreciate you very much. Let's talk about this. Ought I use breath to not relax, but to activate via autonomic nervous system? Let's see here. Hey, Eric, nice to have you here. Second at the O last year. Yeah, exactly, Eric. Okay, Eric knows about Derek Lunsford. Yeah, so the crazy thing, and Charlie, I'm going to get to you in just a second, but I'm a nerd, and it's not even a nerd. So I used to work out with Derek Lunsford at the Vincennes University gym, and he's a really nice kid. And I can say he's a kid because he's in his, like, I think mid-20s. He's a kid, okay, and so, but he's a really nice guy, and so I'm proud of him, and I hope he does well, and it makes good decisions. It's weird whenever, after being a professor for 11 years, I see all these students of mine that were in their 18, 20, 18, 19, 20, those early years. And then I see them now and, it's like, okay, you're 30 now. Oh, wow. It's amazing how time flies. All right. So Charlie, let's talk about this. So this is an interesting question. And Charlie, if you don't mind providing me a little bit of context, because those those heart rates are incredibly low. And like I said, those are bragging rights for most people. Charlie, do you have any problems with blood pressure or I mean, you said you're not an athlete, but do you do a lot of cardio? That's one of those? He said, okay, let's see here. Let's find out about Charlie. Hey, this is one of those things where I wish I could just do this whole thing. Like, Charlie, okay, I'm going to put you here. I wish I could bring you into the video, Charlie. Charlie says, not being an athlete, the low heart rate has worried the doctors, but all the EKGs tests show that my heart is healthy and you have normal blood pressure. Okay. You do lots of walking. So you're not like doing high intensity interval training, or you're not doing like the, CrossFit or something like that. You're doing walking. It's not, you're not doing anything that's like insane. I say insane. It's the things that I like to do. I got to say for myself, I need to be punished. And not in a sexual way. Okay. For all of you. No, the thing is, I've found that, so many of you guys know that I had a former, I'm a former opioid addict. And so what I realized was what I was really craving was physical punishment in the form of exercise. There's nothing that makes me happier now. I go to the gym, I'll deadlift, I will, I'll get after it, do hardcore workout. I'll do like 30 to 45 minutes of just insane cardio, take a cold shower or hop into an ice bath. And I'm like, and it feels amazing. That makes me feel so good. All right, let's see here. And Slayer, hey, Germany is in the house. Big hugs, my Freund. Mein Freund, ich habe nur wenig Deutsch. Actually, that's all I speak. I think I can say ich habe Hunger if I'm hungry, and I can ask for. I think the only food I can say in German is Wurst, right? So anyway, so let's see here. Charlie says, most of my life was you were obese. Now you're normal weight. Congratulations, Charlie, for the weight loss journey. He says high blood pressure when I was obese. So Charlie, I mean, you're killing it here. So you've done an amazing thing. You have gone. This is something that takes a lot of discipline, and it also takes a certain amount of just like saying everyday dedication, habit forming, pattern changing. These are all things I just want to applaud Charlie. So Charlie had high blood pressure and he was obese, and then he lost weight. Now he's got normal blood pressure. I'm proud of you, man. I'm so good on you. Awesome. He says, having lost that weight, my blood pressure has come into normal. My pulse is low and I get cold in the extremities. Okay. So that you have a very low pulse. Okay. So I'm just kind of freestyling now, okay? Because I was able to think about your question that you posed this question. I think February 1st is when you posted the first question. But let's see. So you said I share it with. Okay, so you used to have an addiction to food, and this is something where it's like I think we all have an addiction to this. The addiction to food is one of the hardest ones. I think some of the hardest addictions are the things that you can't be it's literally just part of being a human, right? I have to eat in order to live. I think this is why there's so many addictions to like things that are part of the human experience. So things that affect your dopaminergic system. So for instance, I think this is why video games and gambling is so addictive. This is just part of being a human. We have a dopaminergic system, and that is what guides us through life, and it can be hacked really easily. Our reproductive system, right? We all know that I think like 80% of the internet is porn. It can that reproductive system can be hacked very easily. And the system that ultimately is seeking out calories, we have a system that says you need calories, but we don't have any way of knowing if it's a good or a bad calorie. And actually the things that tell us it's a good calorie or a bad calorie, or the things that we seek out, are oftentimes we've hacked those things too. So if you've read I don't know if you've read my first book, it's called The Practical Guide to Breathwork. I go through all of this about how the modern human condition is so different. It's so weird because the average human in most of human history to get a sugar, so a natural sugar, or any sugar at all, you would generally find fructose. It would be a rare thing, right? And now we've created a whole food group of sugar. So anyway, my hat's off to you, Charlie. Okay, he said he does meditation, Tai Chi, breath work, and I wondered whether in my case I should be activating the system rather than relaxing. So you're going to relax no matter what. And this is a great question. So this is one of those things where I'm not a doctor, a lawyer, or an astronaut, right? So so take everything I say just like it's a person on the internet who only knows you. I can't see you, right? And I'm not a doctor, and so there's that disclaimer. But I would say either way, no matter what you do, you are going to need to relax. You need to go to sleep. You need to do relaxing things. It's just that you seem to have a low heart rate. My advice would be, my advice would be to try to get into exercise um, that might actually, you know, be a little bit more intense than walking. And the reason for this is not because I'm trying. So where my head is not. I need to make sure that your heart rate is higher. I'm not so concerned. Everyone's a little bit different, though, as far as I understand, when it comes to heart rate. My concern would be: is my heart strong? Is it responding? And is it doing what it's supposed to do? And if I have a very efficient heart, then okay, great. But if I don't have a very efficient heart, then that's something I want to work on. So I would do things. You mentioned jogging in your original question, jogging. But the thing is, I would say maybe do something that is a little bit more high intensity. Go to like a HIIT class or do Tabata, and you don't have to do a lot of it, but just make sure you can get that heart rate up. Okay, so work on getting it up. Okay, great. And will it come back down? That heart rate variability is going to give me a lot of information. It will give you a lot of information as far as, do I have a heart that responds to the needs of my body? And that's super important for heart health. I would also highly recommend trying out heart resonance breathing. Heart resonance breathing is something we should all be doing, but it is something that is boring, so most people don't do it. But heart resonance breathing is essentially, you're going to breathe in for 5 seconds and you're going to breathe out for 5 seconds, and you do that for 10 minutes twice a day. You can also do that while CO2 tolerance training. So you can do both at the same time, which is something that the Buteyko Clinic recommends. That's something that my good friend Tom Granger from Draw Breath. If you don't know who Tom Granger is, you should. He's just a fantastic, awesome breath worker. And so maybe I'll have him on the channel sometime. But the heart resonance frequency, ultimately, you're going to breathe in for 5, you're going to exhale for 5, and it's very simple. And you can go through HeartMath if you want to get they have a device that you can put on your ear, and it can guide you through as well. Or you can go to Aria Breath. I think my friend Tom Granger has his app out. I don't know if it's out yet, but he will have an app out for this. You breathe in, it guides you. Those things are going to help determine heart health. And they're an excellent way to know what's going on there. Now, I would be interested also, and you don't have to give me all your information today, but I would be interested if your heart rate was always this way, or if it was something that changed whenever you lost all the weight and you reduced your blood pressure. But the thing is, if you have good blood pressure, if you have, I would say that the low heart rate and feeling cold, the only thing that I'm thinking about is, have you had a blood panel done? And the things that I'm thinking about is your thyroid. So I would get your thyroid checked. I would get my testosterone, my serum testosterone, and my free testosterone. I would try to get a hormone panel done. The problem with that is that a lot of times, no, it's Aria Breath. It's like musical aria. I think it's ARIA. I think that's how it is. Aria Breath. I'm not sure if he's come out with that app yet. I tell you what I'll do, as soon as I know it's out, I'll put it out on the channel, and I'll have him come by. Let's see, Slayer. Let's see, Jesse. What do you think about microcirculation in interaction with breath work? Microcirculation of the blood in interaction with breath work. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that question, Slayer, but I will say that when you are in a state of rest and digest, you're going to have more microcirculation. If you practice CO2 tolerance training, if you have a high CO2 tolerance, you're going to have more microcirculation. You'll have more oxygen dispersion into your tissues. So those are going to be really good for you to do if that's something that you're interested in. The Moose is loose. Moose Mans! Moose Mans is here. I hope you're still here. Good to have you here, Moose Mans. Let's see. Okay. So Carlin is here at the party. And hey, let's just say it, right? The real party starts at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's in about 30 minutes. We are going to have the monthly guided breathwork session with the tribe. So if you haven't joined the Breath Tribe, you can go to my landing page and you'll find the Patreon symbol there. You click there. It's only $5 a month to join. So $5 just to sit in on a guided breathwork session is a pretty good price. But in addition to that, you will also get access to all of the entire catalog. And this month we've been doing a awesome breath of the day. So 28 days of breath work, a different one every single day, pulling from kind of the greatest hits of my guided breathwork sessions that only the Patreon club has access to completely. You'll find occasionally that I'll release one of the sessions on YouTube or maybe another platform, but the Patreon club has access to the entire catalog. Now, the issue is Patreon sometimes is difficult to navigate. So that's why this month we've got it all going on. Did you guys? So for those of you guys who are doing the breathwork of the day challenge, maybe we'll have a poll in the tribe to see maybe if we should do another one next month or maybe a different type of challenge. Maybe we'll pull that. Hey, I'm glad you're still here, Moose Mans. Good to have you. Carlin's here. Slayer's here. Awesome. Well, yeah, Slayer. All I know is versed and let's see. And then of course I think probably the foods that are just like we say it when we say it's also in German. What is the let's see, schnitzel and is schnitzel? That's German, right? And then what's another German food? What is it that I'm thinking of? It's that the fermented cabbage. What is that? Oh, sauerkraut. There it is. Sauerkraut. Thank you, Papa Geek. I will say I grew up, I'm very much German heritage. So my heritage is Germany. There's a little bit of Scandinavia, a lot of English, and France. So that's like those 4 places. And then ta-da, here I am. Thank you to those countries. I guess, let's see. Well, let's say it was France, and then but Belgium is like right there. So I mean, my great grandfather came straight from Belgium. So anyway, so there's my heritage. But I grew up, my grandmother, Slayer, she still spoke German. She came over before World War One, and with her family, and like she still spoke German when I was learning a little bit in high school. And I only took 1 year of German in high school, but I really liked it. But I switched over to Spanish because here in the United States, we have a lot more Spanish speakers. And I took 3 years of Spanish, and I still remember probably more German, which is a problem for me because I don't know if you guys realize this. I married into a Spanish speaking family. So my wife and all of her family, they speak Spanish. so here I am. I'm an English professor. When it comes to the English language, I am right there, man. I mean, it's like, yeah, I speak English really well, but I need to learn Spanish better because it's oh yeah, man. Bratwurst is the best, man. Schnitzel is really German. It's really German. Okay, sauerkraut. Don't forget bratwurst, man. I love bratwurst. Sometimes sometimes like I'll eat bratwurst and watch like the Vikings show or something like that, and I'll just be like, yeah, it's just like, because it's all fat. Bratwurst is just all saturated fat. But I feel like it's all turning into testosterone or something. Hey, V Thomas, good to see you. It's been a while. So, oh dear, I hit the Patreon payment, put it in my phone, OTP, and it's gone back to the payment details page. Help? I don't know what to do. Let's see. Oh dear, I hit the Patreon payment, put in my phone. Yeah, I'm not sure how I can help you right now, V Thomas. Let's see here. I'm just going to check to see if I tell you what. Here in a minute, I'll go off and I'll see if I can help you get in, and then hopefully I'll see you on the thing. Weissenbier, Papa Geek. I don't even know what that is. I know that. Yeah. Okay. Is it Hefeweizen? Isn't that a kind of is that German? That's a German beer, isn't it? Hefeweizen? I mean, it sounds like Hefeweizen. So Slayer, did you that's okay, that's a wheat beer. Hey Tammy, nice to see you too. I hope you're having a great day too. So we're talking about German foods and beers, and let's see, I know how to ask. I'm trying to remember. Man. Well, of course, I would ask because it was high school. Because it was high school, I would ask how to say like dirty things. It's because I was 14 years old or 14 or 15 years old, and I would just ask like how to say just terrible things. And like and like so listen to this. I remember, and this is so I asked how to say, hey teacher, how do you say hard? And so the word hard can also mean difficult. And so he gave me the schwer. I think schwer is difficult, right? And then I was like, hey, hey teacher, how do you say on? So you know that I was a very juvenile young man. And he said auf. And so I would say schwer auf, but I think that's just difficult on. And it's not the word that I was trying to say. Um, yeah, I was bad. I'm sorry. This is Jesse as a youth teenage boy, and I've grown up and I'm completely mature now. I would never do, I would never do such a thing. Oh man. Let's see here. So let's see. Carly says, I'm sitting in a nursing facility with some of my family right now, so I won't be able to breathe. Oh no, with the tribe, but I'm still dialing in with everyone. Well, hey, we will miss you, Carly. And we will see you next month. And of course, you'll be with us in our hearts. Let's see here. Tan May. That's right. Tan May says, we always talk about oxygen, and it is incredibly important for us. But for us, that's why we do breath work mostly. But why do people encourage taking antioxidants? Well, oxidative stress is a terrible thing for us, Tan May. I guess I've gotten off of topic. So I've gotten off topic. This is supposed to be just answering questions for the Breath Tribe, but I don't know. But I will say, Tan May, we take antioxidants to offset oxidative stress and free radicals that we create through the oxidative process, and through their just everyday life. We create these things. And the thought has always been that if you take antioxidants, you undo some of that damage. And it is true. You undo some of that damage. There's no way you could ever take enough antioxidants to undo all that damage. And that is why and we used to think that antioxidants would slow down aging, and it, to some degree, they probably do. But what we know now, or at least we think we know now, is that it's more of an information loss. And so we have an information loss, and this is why things like NMN. If you saw my recent video, if you guys haven't seen my recent video, I want you to watch it. Please watch my recent video about. So I took my testosterone before I started taking NMN, and then I took it recently. And let me just say, my beard is growing in extra firm, so to speak. Slayer, I think you have been a very funny. Well, okay, Slayer. We had German foreign exchange students, so some people from Germany came over, and they were hilarious too. And I had never hung out with Germans before that, and we had a lot of fun. But they did tell us that our beer is just water compared to it's water compared to what you guys have over there. Papa Geek says German sounds so tough and hard sometimes. It does. So German sounds German has this it's a really and I'm saying this as a person who I think it's really kind of cool. Like whenever I listen to Rammstein, like it's it's really like harsh, and it sounds, I don't know, there's a mechanical sound to it. I appreciate it, and please don't take that the wrong way, Slayer. It's like, but compared to some of these other languages, like it sounds almost like they're mad at you, and it's kind of cool. Oh yeah, Gesundheit. Gesundheit. That's one that I grew up. I grew up with my grandma saying Gesundheit. I don't know if Davenport is Davenport. Is that, does that mean couch? Because that's what my grandmother called the couch. She go sit down on the Davenport, and I was like, is that okay? That's what grandma calls the couch. So, uh, yeah, Tammy, I think Coors Light would be laughable for our German friends. Um, let's see. Most important is the February challenge is so cool. I love it. Well, I'm glad you love it, Slayer. I'm glad you're in the group. Hey, okay, and so you're the one. Yes, thank you so much. So now I'm starting. Okay, I'm forming a connection now. So I appreciate, and I appreciate, Slayer, that you've been updating us on your daily progress as well. So let's see here. And Carly, you love the February challenge. Yeah, you've been killing it, Carly. You've been really rocking that. And for those of you guys who have not been doing it every day, you can always throw it in there and say, okay, I'm going to try it today. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody for being in the Patreon club. If you're not in the club, join the club. I'm going to see V Thomas if I can do something for you on that billing issue. But at 3:00, we're going to be doing our group breathwork session. So I'm really happy. You have to excuse for this ugly language. You don't have an ugly language, Slayer. If anything, I feel like German would be the neat freak, like the tidy roommate, and English would be the guy who like borrows. English is literally the language that borrows from every other. We just steal other people's words and kind of mess with them. That's why it's so hard. Like I'm teaching my son how to spell words in English, and it's like there's no rhyme or reason to why these words are like we have a lot of French words, and then we took a lot of this, and then we took a lot of that. Du hast mich. I know. Hey, well, hey guys, I want to say thanks so much for being here. I will look forward to seeing you guys. If you're in the Patreon club, I look forward to seeing you in right around 10 minutes for the monthly breath session, the group session. If you're not in the breath club, hey, join us. You can go to the landing page of my YouTube channel and click on that. It's only $5 to join if you want to get in the main the bottom rung, or you could also go higher if you want to get breath tip of the month or access to ask specific questions that I'll give you in-depth answers for. And I want to thank Charlie for that those questions this month. Guys, thanks for being here. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. And for my Patreon people, I'll see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.